Good evening, everybody. We are here at the administration building for the Fayette County School Board of Trustees business meeting. It is Tuesday, March 8th, and I'd like to have everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we get to begin tonight with a presentation, which we love to see kids from school. So, Mr. Cates.
Good evening. I'm Chris Cates, principal of Eastview. And as you can see, I've got some students with us from our student council and then two teachers, Ms. Myers and Ms. Shirk. And we are excited to talk to you tonight about all the great things going on at our school. And we are organizing this short presentation around two major categories. And the first being teacher leadership. So Ms. Myers will be up here in just a second to talk to you about how teachers are carrying torches at our building. And then second, but even more important, we've got 4 student council members, and Ms. Shirk will set that up for you a little bit before they speak, talk about the different student leadership activities that are going on at Eastview. So without any further ado, part 1, teacher leadership, I'll have Ms. Myers.
So if you look at our first slide here, we have 8 different kind of areas of our teacher leadership. And some are really focused heavily on academics, some are focused heavily on students and families, and some are focused on staff. Our first one is professional learning communities, which I think you guys have talked about that before. That's where we sit down with our grade level partner, we look at common formative assessments, our little short test, and we just look it over and say, these kids have it, these kids way have it, and these kids still need some help, and we kind of go from there. So it's just a time for teachers to really examine student data in a focused manner. The next 2, we have response to intervention and enrichment. Our response to intervention is how we respond to kids who still need help, who aren't getting it with kind of our first go around. Enrichment is how do we reach kids who have mastered the skill or the standard and really push them deeper, wider, broader for their learning. And you may say, best place to work. Well, what's that one? That one's one of the staff ones, and it's probably my favorite one. And actually, Ms. Shirk's our team leader on that one. That is the Christmas parties, the, retirements, wedding celebrations, baby celebrations. And we know, kind of looking next down, for our social emotional learning, those are all important. Happy teachers, happy kids, happy school, that all goes together. So I would argue it's just as important as some of those real heavy academic places. Our social emotional learning, that team, we look at how do we meet the needs of our kids and our staff members. Eagles experience, we look at the kid comes to us in kindergarten and is there to 6th grade. What do they experience? What field trips, what convocations, what are they going to take away from each grade? So when they leave us, what kind of qualities have we instilled in them? Family engagement is one. Really took a hit the last couple of years through no fault of anybody. And we're looking to really ramp that up as we go into the end of this year, actually, and next year. So sky's the limit for that. We know that having families involved in education is really beneficial. And the last one, our culture of readers. We're looking at Eastview not to just have kids learning to read, learning to take tests, but actually love to read. Love to read for entertainment, love to read to information. And Lester Laminack kind of got started on that. We had a group of teachers take off, and how many books did we get?
Well, I know the price.
We spent a lot of money and we ordered
a lot of money.
a lot of books.
Well invested.
Yes. So we know that just exposing our kids to all that kind of good quality literature every single day is the best way to build that culture of readers. And we're really looking forward to some exciting things to come for that as well. Yeah. So one of our things we've done so far, family engagement, we did coffee at the curb. I think it was one of the coldest days this year, but it was also a lot of fun. Teachers were out there giving kids, or welcoming kids into the building, giving parents coffee and donuts and just saying, we appreciate you.
Oh, cool.
So it was, we had a lot of good response from that, a lot of good turnout.
Did you have more cars the next day?
No, but we did have some, like, can we come back and get seconds, like, you don't move the line. But it went really well, and I think this kind of teacher leadership has seemed to really benefit Eastview. We have smaller teams, less people on teams, but it's more distributed. So you don't have just a few select people doing all the heavy lifting or all the heavy work, and you're getting a broad range of ideas. So whereas some people maybe won't speak up in a big staff meeting, if you have a group of 4 or 5, they'll say, hey, I have an idea for this. So, and the teams work together. This is one of the things, I haven't had a chance to talk to Dr. Cates about this. So I'm on the social emotional learning committee. Tabby still got emailed and said, hey, why don't we do something where we're teaching kids all these strategies to calm down, or cool down, relaxing strategies. Maybe we can talk to family engagement and see if we can do something of an evening that way. And then we kind of work it all out and see, like, does this work here or here? So working together to benefit all our kids.
Collaboration. The public library reached out to us a few days ago asking about the bookmobile, and instead of calling her back immediately, the first thing I did was send that email, that request, onto a representative of our family engagement team and onto a representative of our culture readers team. And step one for me as the leader is to say, what do you guys think of this? Then it took a couple days, and she wondered why I didn't call her back as quickly as she would have liked, but I stand by taking that extra couple days to make sure that it goes through a process so that your team is involved in those decisions.
And I think teachers appreciate being involved in the decisions. They feel ownership of things then. So it's not just something told you to do it. You were part of the decision. You understand how we got to this. So it's worked out really well. Does anybody have any questions about any of our? Okay. Turn it over to my ET group.
So Ms. Shirk will kind of set things up from a student leadership perspective.
Hi, I'm Kim Shirk. I've been part of Eastview Elementary for the past 10 years. Probably been involved with student council for at least the last 8. We found different ways to get involved with our students, and we thoroughly allow them to make those decisions on the fundraisers and what they want to do and where they want that money to go. It is student council, not me. We do help lead them towards ideas that will work. Sometimes we have a little outrageous ideas, but we roll with it and see what we can come up with. As you'll see in some of our next pictures, we focus on how we can make a bigger impact in our community, how we can help out, whether that be at our Fayette County level or even at the state level. I have friends here with me tonight who are going to share some of these activities with you. Joining me are Kiana, Emmett, Katie, and Kinsley. Up first.
Kiana will talk to you about our SOAR program.
SOAR is basically the motto for our school, which gives us all of our set of rules that we follow. And what SOAR stands for is safety, ownership, attitude, and responsibility. And we show this throughout our school in many different ways. We show safety, we keep our hands to ourselves, and we show ownership. When we mess up, we learn from our mistakes and we make sure not to do it again. And we're respectful to ourselves and to everyone around us to keep a good attitude for our building, our staff, and the other students around us. And we take care of our school and especially our classroom because that's where we work, and we show responsibility throughout the school. And to make SOAR more suitable for the kids around the school, we set up a school-wide reward system And basically, you gain SOAR tickets for good behavior around the school. It can be given by any teacher if they see that you're doing what you're supposed to or even better. And you get these SOAR tickets and you trade them in for ping pong balls, as you can see in the picture. Each class has a basket that they collect, and we work towards goals for our school that the kids will enjoy, such as hat day, pajama day, and things like that. So far, we've had hat day and pajama day, and the kids have really liked that. And it seems to be working because kids are behaving, so they can get those SOAR tickets and they can get what they want, and it works out for the teachers and for the students.
Fantastic, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Well done.
Ms. Shirk, I have to ask you though, when you looked at the kids and said sometimes you have those outrageous, she smiled the biggest, so I'm guessing sometimes you have some really cool out-of-the-box ideas, is that right?
They've got
I
some
love it.
ideas.
On Valentine's Day this year, we made cards for the Majestic State Care, and to show our gratitude and respect for them. And they posted that picture on social media, and yeah.
And it was your guys' idea, right? To the point, concise, thank you. And Miss Katie Hamilton.
So we did, student council raised money for the Humane Society so that we could show our respect for people who take care of our animals that, have a rough life sometimes. We raised money by doing fundraisers like sucker sales and donut sales. We did 50 cents a sucker and $1 a donut. And then we took a trip to Tractor Supply and the dollar store to buy toys, food, beds for the animals, which was pretty fun to pick things out for the animals. And then we took a trip to the Humane Society and we dropped everything off on the porch and we took a couple pictures and they had big smiles on their faces and was thanking us. And that was it. And that just showed how we try to respect our community and our schools.
And last but not least, fourth grade student, Kinsley.
So basically we did a canned food drive. We would put boxes beside the classrooms and kids would bring in cans and they would put them inside of there. We would go to the classrooms during our student council meetings and count how much cans were in the boxes. And then we would come up with, we would find the winner of the how much cans there were. And then we would have a pizza party for whoever won the thing. And then we had to load it up into a truck we were going to go take it to people who didn't have that much food and who needed it.
Well done. Thank you. Well done, guys.
We also, just to kind of grab some closure to this, we have some new ideas coming up this year. Last year, I don't know why Principal Cates didn't include the picture of him getting pied in the face last year, but we also do penny wars, which if you're on the east side, I've invited. Previously, I've had G1013 has come down and broadcast live from our parking lot, and that was fun. We did that probably, 2 years ago before COVID. And then last year, we just did an in-house, and the students typically raise well over $1,500 in a week's time with just change. And then the winning classes got to pie the principal. This year, be on the lookout, this year their idea is a hamster wheel, and for Principal Cates to be in the hamster wheel.
I think we should be invited to this.
I know,
Really.
pictures just won't do it justice, right?
I can see that.
Whatever it takes.
Lots of donations over here.
Yeah, admin team, we're first.
We'll probably shoot for doing that on our field day, so.
Okay,
it's
we'll
something
keep that
to
in
look
mind.
forward to.
We appreciate your time. All in all, I hope what shows through is that at Eastview, we work hard, we play hard, and that's the energy that I've tried to bring to the building since day one. And Thank you, Ms. Myers. Thank you, students. Thank you, Ms. Shirk, for representing us at a high level tonight. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, I have one. Back to the coffee and donut. Can we have prior notice? Things like that. And keep in mind caramel donuts.
Follow the app. I use the app quite a bit, so if you follow the app, yes, the notice would be there. And in all seriousness, they do plan to do it again. Yeah.
Great.
Did the students generate the projects? In other words, did the students come up with the idea to make the cards for Majestic Care and the Humane Society? Were those generated from things that the kids had thought about doing?
Ms. Shirk, you want to take that?
Yeah, we start the year by setting up usually monthly to bi-monthly goals, what we want to accomplish. This year we did a new one, that was where one of the donut sales came in this year. And we had talked about either doing, we generate ideas with the students, and we had talked about either something with the Fayette County Cancer Society or the Wounded Warrior Projects, and they all voted for the majority won with the Wounded Warrior Projects, and we mailed our donation to the Indiana Foundation for that. So we do let the students lead and make those decisions.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Thank you for those questions.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
The 4 students did a great job.
Yes, they did.
Thank you. Yeah.
We appreciate your time, Cindy. I need to keep clicking or leave it. I'll leave it. How about I leave it?
How about you leave it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there some history here that you can't touch the screen or? No. Oh, okay.
Mr. Case, let me get some pictures.
I just know my presentation next.
So you don't want anything getting in the way of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, man, I'm not staying for my presentation.
Daryl's just been in the hallway eating the whole time, I know.
Okay, we got it.
You're trying.
You don't want
Wow, everybody.
you can't say that. I'm serious. I
Thank you, everybody, for your patience while we take care of the kiddos in the hallway. I believe we have another presentation. Do we have another? Yes, you.
Me. I don't know if I can follow that, but
Oh, do you have
I don't have
coffee and donuts?
donuts,
No.
so I have to apologize.
We're
in
done.
advance. Next time my team will have to remember donuts.
Don't pull it all.
So Eastview talked about social emotional learning, and that's kind of what we want to highlight in our presentation. Several years ago, we brought to the board the proposal for a neuroeducator, and that's Ashley Steffi, and she has even done some presentations for the board on some of the things that she's done to support SEL. And we use a lot of our Title IV funds to support her role. But we thought it would be nice to kind of circle back around and kind of let you guys know where we are with it, some of our challenges, and then where we're going. So this is just kind of a recap of the last couple of years since we have started this journey with SEL. And I've asked my SEL, part of my leadership team, to attend. So we have Keith Morey, who is the assistant principal at CMS, Stephanie McCann, principal at Grandview, and then Megan Gilman, who is our special ed director. We have a couple other people, but they were unable to attend. So we're going to start today, and we're just going to kind of give you a brief overview of what SEL is, where we've been, where we're going, and some of the challenges that we continue to face as we roll this out. So I'm going to start with Mr. Morey.
Good evening. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Thank you. So what is social emotional learning? It's we think it's an integral part of education and human development. I'll be honest, it's one of the big things that Kim used to lure me down here. This is really big for me. So she says, well, we're trying to do all these things. Okay, let's talk some more. And so here I am. So what does it mean at the building level? It means we're trying to educate students on their brain state. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what that means in a minute. In order to recognize their emotions and how to regulate those emotions using healthy and productive approaches. So why is it important? Okay, this is from CASEL. CASEL is the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. SEL makes a difference. We know there's research that shows that education that promotes SEL has a positive impact on a wide range of outcomes, including academic performance, healthy relationships, mental wellness, and more. So, what?
That crazy little window.
There it is. So now we're gonna. Anybody done the hand-brain model before?
Yeah.
Yeah. How many? Just a couple. So here's what I'm gonna add. It's up here, but just raise your hand, and you guys can play along in the audience as well. If you raise your hand, we're gonna make a model of your brain tonight. Okay. Good news. All of you have fully developed brains. Okay. Next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna fold. Congratulations. Yeah. Fold your thumb in. And then we're going to fold our hand down over the top, fingers down over the top. Okay, this is a model. This is a model of your brain. We use this in elementary classrooms. I use it at the middle school to teach kids about how their brain works and where it is now. And this is what I'll tell to my students. How old are you? Okay, you're 13. Here's the bad news. You got another 13 years before your brain is fully developed. And in my case, I think it was more like 17. I'm not sure my brain fully came online until about 30. But I got there. I'm here. Right? Here. I'm slow, but I'm here. Okay. So what we tell them is your wrist is your brain stem. Okay. This is where all those automatic functions take place. Right? How many of you have ever forgot to breathe? Right? This is the part of your brain that does that. Right? You don't have to think about breathing. Your heart beating. All those automatic things are right there. Okay. Then if we unfold, that middle part is the limbic region. That's where your emotions are based out of. And for our middle schoolers, I tell them all the time, this is where this thing's lighting up right now, man. Right? But this is the part of your brain that goes, this is awesome, or I hate you. All those things are right there, right? So now we've got the cortex, and we fold that over, and the prefrontal cortex, those fingernails on the front, that's your prefrontal cortex. And what I'll tell my students at the middle school is, this is your executive function. What's executive, right? You guys are the executives, right? You make the decisions. This is the part that's still got another 13 years to go. So what we're pushing our students to do is develop those connections between this part and this part, so that when you go, this is really awesome, you plug in here and you go, oh, wait a minute. Maybe jumping off the roof would be awesome. But it might break my leg as well, right? Those are all those things that we're working on. Now at the elementary level, we might go, hey, we'll talk about flipping your lid. Okay, so hey, you don't want to flip your lid, right? And once you get these kids down, you can just look at a kid that's a little dysregulated and you can go, they get that. So this is just a brief example of something that we're talking about. As far as regulating our emotions, getting kids to think about that, where's that coming from? We've got a quick video, if I can find that. You did embed it. There you go. Any volume
Because I didn't know we had.
Oh.
Turn it on at the bottom though. See what?
Maybe Terry can help us.
Skip the ad, go Keith. Like skip the.
Okay.
Minimize. And your speaker's off down at the bottom right corner. Minimize the screen.
Oh, okay. Come back to the speaker. I can do it here, huh?
Down at the bottom right.
Ooh, it's low.
Over to the right. There you go.
There you go. Oh, it is. Terry? Stall for a minute.
Stall for a minute. Don't flip your lid. Don't flip your lid.
We won't know. Well, we're not going to know if it's playing if we pause it, right? Sure. We won't know when we have it. I don't know, do we need it?
I mean, you can skip the video. The video, I can just summarize the video. It was a brief description of what social emotional looks like and its application into schools. So that video was created recently. If you guys are following all the legislation, there was a lot of misinformation about what SEL is. So that was some just additional information for you guys to understand and making sure everybody in our community and everybody understands what SEL is and how it's practiced in schools. So hopefully we can get that video for you in the future.
Looks like we got.
But first, I turned off the entire PowerPoint. See how emotionally regulated I am?
You are, I'm very impressed.
It's still down.
I'm
You hit the espresso cart in your office before you came, didn't you?
I didn't today, but I should have. I didn't want to be up all night. I got to run in the morning. Okay, we're going to try it again? We're going to go for it, or are we going to move forward?
Yeah, try it
I
again.
think it's off volume. Yeah.
Nope. Okay.
No problem. Okay, so I'm gonna let you put me back because last time I did, I shut it all down. Thank you. Now we're going to. Where do we start?
Where do we start? So, I can't follow that act. I'm not quite that animated, but so where do we start? What's exciting for me in SEL is even for myself as an administrator, this was about starting over for myself, because if you knew me in the classroom, I was a very sticks and carrots kind of teacher, which means I just believed in a lot of structure, and I didn't take the emotional state of the student into place. So as I began in this role, I really began to grow in this area, and now I would like to think that it's something that my school is very proud of. We work really hard on SEL. So this was a start for me as well. So Fayette County, we started our journey into SEL by hiring a new educator, like Mrs. Casaro said. Ashley Steffi she wears multiple hats in this role, everything from training our success coaches to supporting administrators. So she does an outstanding job of always keeping us in the loop of what's current in legislation and research. Administration, education training, we've done a lot of work with Ruby Payne. Administrators have just about kids in poverty and talking to them about their brain state. Implementation of SEL lessons in the classroom, so that common language, flip your lid. If I have a kid in my office, a lot of times I'll be like, listen, when you let me know when you're here, and then we'll have a conversation, because kids cannot communicate well when they're here. And when I say that, they know exactly what it is, and when we just give them the time, I have some things to help regulate them in the classroom. It's always a variety of things. Sometimes students will grab a Rubik's Cube, sometimes they need a walk, sometimes they need just you to be quiet. You know, they just need and like an adult, like sometimes people need just be quiet for a minute and let me gather myself. And so every kid is different, every age is different when it comes to watching kids, knowing where they're at, but they know it, and it's very powerful to watch in action. And then Fayette County teacher review team for SEL practices, so we have a leadership team. And it's made up of different administrators, and we just constantly are looking at watching legislation and making sure we're all doing things right, and that we are looking at the most common current SEL practices. So that's where we are, or where we started. The exciting part is, I'm going to pick a new button.
Oh my gosh, we are having a really hard time with this presentation.
The other side, the left side.
Left side, yeah.
Do the scroller thing.
There we go. All right, where we are now. Super excited where we are now. So we've come a long way, baby. So where we are now, we have created these wonderful partnerships with Centerstone and Meridian. I'm very fortunate to have a very passionate young lady in my building. We have all kinds of people that are coming in to support our kids. The website Tier 1, so it's just like MTSS, that multi-tier support system. So we have that academically, so we've been very strong on that in Fayette County, but now we've added that SEL, that behavior piece, that Tier 1. If you get on our website and we get to that, it's embedded in the Fayette County piece. We have all kinds of resources for teachers and that kind of match behaviors. So we launched Tier 1 resources, and we're headed for Tier 2 and Tier 3. I think I just stole your thunder.
That's okay.
Sorry. Dr. Lori presentation. So to kick off the school year this year, we had Dr. Lori come. She is with Butler University and does a lot of work with the brain state and trauma-informed teaching. Very powerful information if you ever get a chance to listen to her. And then we also had a follow-up, she had a symposium, and we have people who are volunteering their Saturdays to get more hands-on Dr. Lori's information. So that was in February. So we've offered her up again. Dr. Adam work group, again, this is a work group that was completely voluntary, and if you're ever there, we're in our 6th work group. We have a packed house over at SLC. It's voluntary information. Dr. Adam, he's an amazing speaker. He was a trauma kid himself, and it's his story, and then how he learned to regulate and things that how teachers impacted his life, and then the things that he continues to do work in that field. Reset room implementation, so they have a couple of different names. The reset room is that place where the kid goes to get that 10 or 15 minute reset, so it's a place outside of the academic setting, and a lot of our students use it. They walk in, there's an adult, obviously we call them our success coaches. They're in there, they know how to use the room. There are processes, and in that room, kids will do again, it could be some kids color, some kids sit, some kids will grab some sand, that 10 or 15 minute reset, and then they're ready to re-enter the academic room. Corporation-wide SEL check-in. So these are fun. We just did these this year, and this is a K-12 initiative. So we all have these social emotional check-ins. So kids come into the room, it's a certain period, I believe, at the secondary level. They can do it through a Google form, and it just asks the kids. So we have in the elementary world, we're correlated to colors. So are you red, are you blue, are you green, are you yellow? Some kids, it'll be the color that they write their name in. So when a teacher's flipping through morning work, they see what color they wrote their name in, and it correlates with an emotion. So you know whether to check in with that kid. It can be super quick, but it's super telling. It's that handle with care mentality. We know the kid's coming in hot. We know how to address them immediately. So we're really proud of that this year, getting that K-12 off the ground. Building level SEL teams. So we have leadership in all of our buildings that's focusing on social emotional learning. We have presentations. My team has been out over from Grandview to the middle school. We have Kristen Schumann over at the middle school who's been through Dr. Lori's training, and so she has a lot of things in practice. So we have teachers learning from teachers, which is always an excellent model. And we have teachers who can teach our teachers. Of course, the Learning Center programming, that met a need of a very specific group of students. Again, students who are in trauma, who don't respond well, and the chaos of a high school. Fayette County should be very proud of that. I have 2 or 3 former students over there, and it's just great to see them smiling and connected and in school. And then the Character Strong program, that's a middle school program, and I believe that's during their Spartan Pride. Yes, and that is a component that CMS has taken on building-wide that deals with social emotional learning in the masses. All right.
As you know, we've had some challenges along the way. If I didn't start with COVID, it wouldn't be this school year. But COVID did, our students came back, it seemed like even more dysregulated than when they left us. And they did have to live through and survive a pandemic. So that was some of our challenges, along with COVID protocols, where we couldn't bring kids together in small groups or do kind of that close collaborative work. So those were some challenges we faced. Attendance is an ongoing challenge for our kiddos, just with any SEL practice. If they're not there to hear the material, then it's hard for them to implement it. We have had a variety, when we work with a large staff, people are at a different place in their journey of their buy-in to SEL. So some people are just learning what it is, all the way to Keith, who was lured here because he loves it. We have a wide variety of staff, student, and even parent buy-in to the SEL initiative, and us taking the time to work on that in the school setting. We do 2 other things that have come up just more recently in our challenges is our lack of community resources. So we do, and we love our partnership with Centerstone and Meridian. Unfortunately, in Fayette County, that we're kind of limited to that. So we don't have, like in a big city, we might have more options to choose from. So we are being creative and looking for other ways to pull in community resources, especially with technology. And we have seen an increased level of need. So as you saw in our MTSS website for SEL, it's a similar model to the academic. You're supposed to have tier 1, 2, and 3. Typically, there should be 5% at the top of our highest need kids. That percentage is a little higher right now, and that's a reflection of all those things I listed. So we've had to work through some challenges and adjust our expectations. But we are still excited about everywhere we've come that Mrs. McCann shared, and then where we're headed. So just to highlight a few things of where we're going, we would like to bring Challenge Day to CMS. So that's a piece that we attempted to bring this year, and we're unable to due to some COVID protocols. So that's on the plan for next year, and that's an entire day about breaking down barriers and opening that communication and forming community. So if you have the opportunity when we bring that next year, we will let you know those dates so that you can come and see what that day is about.
We'll need lots of volunteers.
We need lots of volunteers to run rooms and groups.
Yeah.
So it's a really powerful program that we're excited to be able to bring here. As Ms. McCann shared, we do have our district strategy website for MTSSS. We do have tiers 2 and 3 created. We just have not rolled those out yet. So we rolled out tier 1 this year. We didn't need to roll out the whole thing. That's a lot for teachers. I do want to highlight on that MTSS website, that was created and vetted by a team of teachers K-12. So even during COVID protocols last year when we were creating the website, we couldn't bring committees together. So there was a core group of us that would write programming, send it out to this team of teachers that volunteered to be on this committee for review. They would give us feedback, and we have all of that tracked. You know, we were very transparent since we couldn't come together. How do we make sure your feedback is making it into the decisions for the district? So that helped with our buy-in. We are continuing with staff PD, so looking at more speakers and that. Continuing to prioritize relationships always. And like I shared before, to face one of those challenges, we want to diversify our community partnerships and resources. So we are looking at even, some teletherapy options and things like that. We know in person's the best, but we need to get the resources our students need. So, and then questions. I think Kim's wrapping it up. Okay.
So that was like 3 years of SEL, kind of a 10-minute presentation. And so we gave you a lot of information, but we just kind of want to keep you in the know of what's going on with this process, because it is a process that we continue to refine and have to work through as our needs continue to increase. And as Megan said, our resources are very difficult. We're struggling to find enough resources to support the amount of kids. Not necessarily in-house resources, these are more community-based resources.
What are you talking about when you're saying
like Centerstone and Meridian, for example, they are now on waiting list.
Oh.
So even for skill work, that they used to come in and see our kids for skill work, they are on waiting list. And part of that is just because the lack of people that they can find to fill those positions. We're all struggling to fill positions. Now our outside agencies are also struggling to fill positions, and therefore there's not enough people to provide the services that they can provide. So when we say lack of resources, we don't necessarily mean that we don't have them in-house, but when a kid needs that next level of support, those resources are becoming very difficult for us to find, and that's why we're trying to look at some other kind of outside resources like telehealth, just so that we can provide these families and kids with some support. But typically we would use Meridian and Centerstone, but unable to do that at this time. So it's a huge initiative. All of our buildings are at different places. We're growing. We have a long way to go, both with supporting our kids and our teachers, but we have all of the framework in place now. It's about continuing to move forward.
I first saw this SEL 3 years ago at the Indiana State School Board Convention, and I was privileged to hear the lady from
Dr. Lori.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
wow.
an awesome speaker.
She's awesome. And to see how far, I walked out of there going, wow, this is so cool. And to see how far we have come with it, and to be able to witness, particularly at the middle school level, some of how some of these initiatives are working. It's just really fantastic. And the lack of resources, it's terrible. We have more kids than we have places for them, and they do the best that they can do.
Sure,
but
and we
it's just-
appreciate all of their work. We really do.
It's just really gratifying to see, because we lose too many kids, and they don't have the skill set, and the pandemic made everything worse. You know, so I'm so glad we are where we are, given all the challenges that we face, because after that thing 3 years ago, I thought, wow, this is so cool, it will be such a good thing for our kids.
It is.
Well, thank you all for all your work and for the presentation. Oh, Randy.
I know, we went from sweating to
Somebody told him to turn the AC on or something.
Yeah, that was Daryl.
All right, yeah.
Facilities director, yeah.
He's the only one that's allowed to touch those, so.
Okay, moving forward, we've had quite a beginning to our meeting tonight. No, we like to hear about these things, so I appreciate it. I'm not, that wasn't a dig, that was a positive, you know. Okay, I'd like to seek a motion to approve the agenda as submitted and amended.
Madam President, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Chris. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Public comments on agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which includes the approval of the minutes from the regular board meeting of 2/8/22 and the executive meeting of 2/8/22, the personnel report, retirements, resignations, leaves of absence, etc., the approval of the February 2022 claims 61348 through 61555, and donations, which this is a big night. A donation of books from the Fayette County Public Library with an estimated value of $1,000 to CMS to provide books for all CMS students. A donation of $5,125 from the Fayette Community Foundation Dana Riemann Endowment to CHS to be used by teachers for classroom supplies. A gift of $600 from US Internet to the CHS archery team to be used for registration and t-shirts for the team competing at the state archery tournament. A donation of $33,850 from the Fayette County Communities That Care and Family Services and Prevention Programs to Frazee Elementary to be used to purchase a new sign in front of the building. We are always so grateful for the donations, and they are quite generous this evening. So I would like to seek a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I so move.
Thank you, Ann. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dennis. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
One thing,
Yeah.
if you've gone by Grandview, which I'm sure you have, you noticed their sign, this would be a similar sign with the messaging board, and we can use to share community information as well, so it's a generous donation for them to provide the cost of installation.
It's
of
Yeah, that is
signs. Something you would
That's an
not probably
expensive
see online.
sign.
So did they do it for all the elementary
They've
schools
done
then?
it for Grandview and
Or so
working
far?
on, yeah, so far, those are
So
like most,
far,
the
okay.
highest visible schools. So
Yes.
that's a
On
target.
Grand Avenue and on 44, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Very
That's
generous.
Thank you. Okay, now we will move on to action items, and we'll begin with the personnel report. Mr. Harris.
On the personnel report this evening, I'm recommending hiring Carly Leach as the permanent substitute at Grandview. Sierra Robinson, first grade education assistant at Grandview. Joshua Sparks as SRO. Charlie Steele as a Head Start nutrition bus assistant. Then under extracurricular, recommending Jason Kraus as the girls tennis coach. Ron Paxton as the head girls track coach, both of those are at the high school. Then under classified staff, Brian Flanagan as baseball coach at the middle school. Ashley Ruble as varsity assistant softball coach at the high school. Paul Wojcik as baseball coach at the middle school. And then the last one, I'm going to give a little bit more of an introduction, and hopefully it's approved. But it is my pleasure this evening. I'm sure all of you have been to those meetings where they go, they're getting ready to introduce a speaker, and they go, and now this person needs no introduction, and you're sitting there going, I have no idea who they're getting ready to introduce. Well, this time I think maybe I'm making a little bit of an exception to that rule, because I think I am getting able to maybe introduce somebody as a recommendation for the head football coach at Connersville High School that needs no introduction, at least not in this room. So it's my pleasure on behalf of our committee. We actually started with about 25 applicants for the position. We interviewed 7 the first round. We called back 3 more for the second round. And finally, we are recommending a 1992 graduate of Connersville High School, businessman in the community, one that has worked with the football program for a long time, but recommending Ryan Leach as the varsity football coach at Connersville High School. So that's my personnel report.
Does Mr. Lynch have anything he wants to say tonight?
Well, let's approve it first.
Sorry.
Sorry. You're not there yet. Let us approve
I
it.
graduated in '93, don't age me anymore.
Oh, okay.
Also, pumped there to hear that I'm going to be the coach. This is a dream job for me, and I appreciate the board and the committee. I have a relationship with Mr. Judd and Mr. Duncan for over 30 years, and I want to thank them, Mr. Liggett, and then I want to thank my family. I have a great foundation, I think, to build this program. Mr. Duncan is going to buy new uniforms this year. I hope I'm allowed to say that. So I want to let Michelle know she's got a position. She's going to be cleaning those uniforms.
Oh, look at you.
She's the game lady. I hope to build a good program. I want what he said, work hard, play hard. And I have a background in t-shirts, and I did a little Shark Tank presentation when I did the interviews and come up with this logo. It's very similar to the Oakland Raiders, which many of you know I have no love for, but the team theme this year is going to be respect. And I think we give a lot of respect to the other teams. I don't think we get it as a team. And I want us to give respect in the classroom. I want them to give respect, especially to the officials. So this is going to be our theme. And like I said, I appreciate you guys, and I look forward to working with you.
Well, let's go ahead. Yeah, let's go ahead and approve this, shall we? I'd like to seek I'd like to seek a motion to approve the personnel report.
I so moved.
Thank you, Ann. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Chris. Any discussion?
And I know when your birthday is.
Yes.
Yes. We share a birthday, and on his 14th, I was 40, and I got flowers, black ones, and he came into my room after lunch and said, "Oh, for me?" And I said, "Not exactly."
But you stayed 40, right?
Yeah, yes.
That's how that
And
works.
fortunately, Ryan did not stay 14, but we go back a long way. So that's cool.
All right. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I want to introduce Ashley Ruble too, if you want to stand up. She's sitting next to a really tough coach there that she knows, but Ashley was a standout athlete for us. What year did you graduate?
2019.
2019, great softball player. So, want to welcome.
swimmer.
Yeah, I know, but ask the guy next to her, he may talk a little more about the softball side, but he'll be helping coach and got a great program, I think, with our softball team. So welcome aboard officially. I know you've never left it, having been for dad, have you? I mean, you've always
Yes.
had your hand in it, but welcome aboard.
Thank you.
We're very grateful to have 2 local people to be in these positions. Thank you both.
And now-
Congratulations.
Now Ashley can actually get paid a little bit for doing all the work that she's done for free.
And you're welcome to leave. You don't have to stay. We've got a long presentation coming up, so that's fine. People do it.
Oh, you mean just
Yeah.
the crowd.
See y'all. All right, up next, Head Start orientation. I'm not sure, I'm guessing we are going to have to approve each of these separately.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just keep giving you the move forward line, you know.
So when I submit the minutes
the minutes to Office of Head Start, they're very picky about the wording and how things are approved. So I don't want to leave any room for error. I want them to know that you agree with everything I'm speaking about tonight.
Okay, great.
So thank you in advance for your time. I know I have a lot to share. First part is your Head Start orientation. This is a requirement since you are the governing body. Some of you have sat through this for many, many years, but we do have a new face on the boards. Jeremy, this is your first time for the Head Start monthly meeting. So your governing body orientation. Head Start is a federal program initiated in the 1960s as part of President Johnson's War on Poverty and operated under a federal grant. The original purpose of the program was to prepare children living in poverty for school. Today, this preparation includes academic, social, and health readiness, as well as parent education and engagement. Fayette County School Corporation is the grantee for the Head Start program in Fayette County. The Fayette County School Board is the governing board for the local program and has the responsibility for ensuring compliance with federal laws and regulations, understanding the philosophy and the role of parents in the policy council, being fiscally and legally accountable for overseeing and administering the program, ensuring that internal controls are in place to safeguard federal funds, reviewing and improving all major agency policies, including self-assessment, financial audits, and the Head Start grant progress in carrying out grant provisions. Fayette County School Corporation's Head Start is governed by the policies and procedures of Fayette County Schools and the federal Head Start performance standards. The shared governance between Fayette County Schools and Head Start's Policy Council, which is our group of composed parents and community representatives, provides the program's framework, including the assignment of all program responsibilities and the development and review of policies and procedures. Specifically, Head Start Policy Council must be consulted and approve planning procedures, including all funding applications, amendments, and the annual program self-assessment, the general administration of the program, including procedures for shared decision-making and resolving internal disputes. So just like the school board, I have a Head Start Policy Council that's also a governing body, and we meet monthly and do some of the same approvals. Locally, the Head Start program serves all of Fayette County with 6 Head Start classrooms at the Early Learning Center, Little Spartans Preschool. And in partnership with CFSS, we serve approximately 15 additional children with special needs in our Head Start classrooms. So that concludes your orientation.
Okay, I'd like to seek a motion to approve the orientation.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Lori. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Jeremy. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. On to the Head Start grant.
So I know you received a huge packet with all of my pieces. The grant portion is the kind of the whole big umbrella with all of these little pieces under it. The grant includes the budget, it includes the self-assessment, the community assessment, our school readiness narrative, our program goals, our depreciation, our equipment and space. It's all of those pieces that say that we are following the performance standards and being responsible for the federal money that we're given. So this year, our grant is due April 1st to the Head Start Regional Office. At that time, they review all of the documents that I've been gathering data and putting together, and they decide if it's going to be approved for our funding. So that's when we talk about the grant, we're talking about all of those pieces. We are applying for a total of $1,276,402 in federal funds. That includes our $18,937 that we get for our training and technical assistance. And then we're required to provide $319,011 in our matching in-kind funding. So those are all pieces of the grant that I'll get into more detail as I go through the other items, the action items. So at this point, I'm asking your approval for the entire grant.
Okay, I'd like to seek a motion to approve the Head Start grant.
Give that motion.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Dennis. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. On to the Head Start budget.
So breaking it down to those smaller pieces now, I will be seeking your approval on our Head Start budget in the amount I mentioned before. That is broken down into personnel, fringes, travel and training, supplies, and other. Other includes our transportation. We do work with the transportation department, and they transport our children to our Head Start classrooms. It includes our mental health services, mental health consultant, parent engagement activities. Those are all included under other. Any questions about the budget? We work with the fiscal department out at central office to get the salaries and also in the way that's all allocated.
And that's like, when I was looking at this,
Yes, that's the
when
city's.
it came, that's your portion, when it's, no, I mean,
The
like,
non-federal share.
yes,
Yes.
that's the portion that you use as opposed to the rest of the corporation when it's some of
Yes.
these other
So
areas.
the portion that we are applying for, the 1 million that I mentioned, that covers Head Start employees' salaries, and it covers our transportation, their fringes, anyone that's a Head Start employee.
Okay.
Head Start employees are also school corporation employees, but they're also Head Start employees. So the differentiation is that we follow school policies, the school corporation's policies, but they're also responsible for the performance standards. So they have to go through the additional background checks, the fingerprinting, the physical, the TB test, drug test. All of those are components to be hired into Head Start. So all of those things are gathered and we submit that to Office of Head Start with our personnel files for anybody that works with Head Start children. So a school corporation employee can work with Head Start children if they've gone through the Head Start background checks. And so these funds cover anyone that works within the Head Start realm. So
Okay, I would like to seek a motion to approve the Head Start budget.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Lori, second. Thank you, Chris. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. On to the Head Start program goals.
So that is this very lengthy packet. We are in writing for year 5 of a 5-year grant cycle. Reflecting on this as we updated goals this year, I am entering my 5th year into this role with Head Start. So when I came in, we were in year 1 of this grant. I didn't write the first year grant, that was Lori when she was still here. And I got to dive right in and help work with these goals and make the changes with the rest of the team. So as we are updating year 4, writing into year 5, some of the challenges that we face because of COVID, staffing. Childhood obesity is still one of our challenges within our program. We do have some health and wellness goals. Mental health continues to be an area in our program goals that we're working on. And then in the past, Head Start was required to be licensed by the state as a child care center, but we're exempt from that because we are part of a school corporation. So that was a program goal already written in the past that we had to table because we weren't necessarily having to do that at this time. So the goals have been updated to reflect our progress throughout the year. This document is a moving document. When my team meets weekly, monthly, we look at data and collect data, and then we use it to update our goals. So it kind of guides the grant writing process. Any questions about the goals?
You say it's 5 years, so you're in your 5th year. Do they look at all 5 years when you get to the 5th year?
They do.
Okay.
So they look to see what progress you've made toward your goals, and you have to be able to justify if you haven't met a goal. If you've exceeded or met a goal, you can table it at that time. So we're always data collecting. We're always documenting. If it's not on paper, it's not done kind of thing. So we do collect data. We save it all because if we are reviewed, they do pull that for the 5-year grant cycle.
It's a lot of work. It is so much work.
It is. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. So I'm glad to see the part about that COVID, hopefully you don't get dinged on that.
No, there have been a lot of flexibilities within Office of Head Start and Head Start Regional with COVID as far as enrollment, funded enrollment. Last year we didn't have to be fully enrolled. We got to still keep the money. We didn't have to have as many children as we wrote for because people weren't sending kids to school. This year they said we had to be fully enrolled by January, which we were, but then they backed it off and said now we don't have to be. So it's ever changing. There are lots of amendments to the performance standards that just kind of pop up and we go with the flow. So we're constantly watching that legislation on Head Start guidance.
Well, thank you. I'd like to seek a motion to approve the Head Start program goals.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mark. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. On to the Head Start self-assessment.
So one of, I think, the most rewarding pieces of writing the grant is the Head Start self-assessment. That is about a month or 2 long process where our Head Start team is meeting with our stakeholders to go over all of the different program areas. So we invite our community partners, we invite parents, we invite anyone that's involved with our children in any capacity to sit in on these roundtable discussions and talk about our strengths and weaknesses. And then we use that data to plan our budget and to write our goals for our program. So some of the things that, or some of the areas that we sat down and discussed were our disabilities, which we have disability committees, so we do serve children with disabilities, and we are required to serve a certain percentage of students with IEPs. Not hard to do in the area that we live in, but that's one area that we talk about pretty extensively because of the need we're seeing. We talk about our fiscal piece, so I came out here to talk to Tina and Randy and Scott. We talk about family and community engagement. We talk about health, child health, staff health, mental health, community partnerships, transportation, our program governance, facilities and equipment, human resources, our enrollment processes, communication, record keeping and reporting, and then that ongoing monitoring piece. So we have meetings for all of those areas and then come up with some areas of strengths and concerns. Sorry.
I was going to ask how many you have that have IEPs. I didn't know you did IEPs with kids that young.
Yes. So we are partnered with First Steps. So
Okay.
children coming out of First Steps either qualify or don't for school-age services. So we do have a partnership with CFSS, and we do serve those children within our Head Start rooms or developmental preschool, depending on the need.
We have a lot.
We have a lot. So last year, 32 of our students in Head Start had identified disabilities throughout the year. 90% of those were communication or language impairments. And then the others were developmental delay or deaf and hard of hearing. So we do have that language is a huge piece that we're seeing. So out of the self-assessment, after all of those meetings were said and done, I gather all of that data and then I write a self-assessment report. And that is a report that we received. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but I will touch on some of the highlights. Our strengths include that we have a highly qualified staff. All of our teachers are licensed teachers with either bachelor's or master's. That's not always the case in Head Start programs. Head Starts that are not part of school corporations only require an associate's degree for their teachers. So we do have a highly qualified staff. We have a partnership with CFSS and Facilities Transportation. Our community partnerships, having the school corporation as a grantee, our monitoring procedures, and our fiscal management are also strengths. And then just areas of concern that came out of self-assessment was that staff retention, increasing our mental health and trauma-informed care for staff and families, decreasing the class size in our full-day rooms by adding an additional full-day room. So that is one of the biggest areas that came out of our self-assessment this year, and our budget will be planned for that. Right now, we have 3 full-day rooms and 3 half-day rooms. We are required by Head Start to have 45% of our funded enrollment in a full-day room. So that puts 20 kids in a full-day room. And that's too many when you have 3 to 5-year-olds. So we are writing for an additional full-day room so we can lower the class size in those rooms. So that's something that came out of all of the data. And then other areas of concern were just the lack of transportation for families. Okay. Any questions about self-assessment?
Okay, I'd like to seek a motion to approve the Head Start self-assessment.
I so move.
Thank you, Ann. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lori. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. On to the Head Start community assessment.
So every year, the community assessment is updated to reflect current trends in our community. At the beginning of the 5-year grant cycle, a community assessment on a larger scale is done and turned in, and then each year it's updated from then on out. So next year, when we write for a new 5-year cycle, the community assessment will have more components. Right now, this is just an update from last year on where we stand in our community. I'm just going to point out a couple things that stood out to me. We still rank 90 out of 92 as the most unhealthy county in Indiana. So we did go up a spot. We're not, we're in the top 3. So that's definitely a concern, and that's something that we write within our program goals. We do have 18% of our total community population are birth to 4-year-olds who are living in poverty. And that's the kind of who we serve in Head Start, so it's very important to be aware of that. In 2020, Fayette County had 84 substantiated cases of child abuse altogether. So that piece stood out as well. Let's see. And then the community data and the self-assessment findings did indicate the need to continue offering those full-day services and opening that additional full-day room to decrease those class sizes so we can focus more on the need of the student. Any questions about the community assessment?
Okay, I'd like to seek a motion then to approve the Head Start Community Assessment.
Do that motion.
Thank you, Jeremy. A second.
Second.
Thank you, Dennis. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Now we'll move on to the Head Start Priority Guidelines.
So this is something I don't always bring to you for approval. We haven't updated it in a while, but data that came out of self-assessment and the community assessment indicated that we needed to add another priority point to our formula. When children are enrolled in Head Start, we have a very strict process on how they can qualify. First piece is being income. If they're under the poverty guidelines, that counts towards points. If a child is in foster care, if they're going to kindergarten next year, if they have CPS involved, if they're homeless or have a single parent, they get more points, it's weighted. So we use those priority points to determine how children are placed. If we have a waiting list, we use this becomes even more important, so we can make sure we're serving the children that need to be served first. The data that came out of self-assessment, community assessment, were that addiction and substance abuse are still a very big issue in our community, and we are deciding to add that as a priority point on our forms. This doesn't always mean that families tell us these things, but we do a very detailed interview for enrollment with families, so our family service coordinators sit down, ask some really personal questions as we enroll, because we do have to verify income. We do have to gather all of this data, so that's where that relationship building comes in, that family engagement. They're comfortable with our coordinators and sometimes do share this. And then at that point, we are able to help with family goals, because that's goal setting is one of the areas our family service coordinators work. So we decided to add this priority point this year and just seeking your approval to add this.
Okay, I'd like to seek an approval for the Head Start Priority Guidelines.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mark. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ann. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. What a job.
It takes every single person.
Well, and I'm sad, and it just makes me so sad to hear, we all know those statistics, but to hear you discuss them. Even when I was reading this at home, when we get a copy of the agenda, 68-something cases of neglect. Yeah,
This
hurts my heart.
The data puts everything into perspective, why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And then you walk into the building and you see the smiles, you see the kids, and you know you're in the right place, you know you're doing the right thing. So you're welcome to come visit anytime. It's booming over there. We have a full house, close to 270 kids this year.
Your role would be sending on to kindergarten about
180 will be going on to kindergarten next year.
Which is huge for us.
We have more enrolled than we did pre-COVID, so.
That's great.
Thank you so much for your work,
Thank you for
Kelly.
your
We
time and your
appreciate
support.
it.
Thanks.
So now we're supposed to just go on. Move on to the approval of the revised 2022-23 school calendar, Mr. Collins.
Thank you. Our calendar committee met, and I had one request of that group. I just wanted to revise one area on the calendar that you had already approved last March for next school year, and that was moving our registration dates a little earlier in the week. So that's the only change on the first calendar that you will have to reapprove, but it moves our registration dates from July 28th and 29th to July 26th and 27th. This helps our transportation department a lot with getting routes established, getting that information into our system. So that is the only change to the calendar that you already approved. So I do submit it to you for reapproval since there is a change.
Okay, I'd like to seek a motion to approve the revised 2022-23 school calendar.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Mark. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ann. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And on to the 23-24 school calendar.
Thank you. And as a reminder, one of our biggest goals with this calendar is trying to balance out each semester. That most significantly impacts our high school, our secondary kids. So that's always a challenge when we work with the start of the year and then look at the fair and where it falls in in the summer too. So one thing we've done these last 2 calendar cycles is start school a little earlier and have the teachers come in the week of the fair on those last 2 days. So with the way the calendar has moved, we're able to go back to the more traditional model where we have teachers in on August 7th and 8th, and then the kids start on Wednesday, August 9th, which is, for our little guys, that's a little easier on them, starting with the half week. We have a built-in, our professional development parent conference day on October the 11th, and then more for the public, but it's in board policy that fall break will fall on the last full week of October and spring break the last full week of March. So that gives us consistency in working with the other 5 school districts who send kids to the Career Center. That's always a challenge in trying to get information out to them because their boards are doing the same thing. So that helps with consistency. We had some discussion about not having that Wednesday of before Thanksgiving as a day off. But in the end, we were able to work that out, so we'll have a 3-day Thanksgiving break again. That's been very popular. And we will also be able to go back to a full 2-week Christmas vacation that encompasses 3 weekends. So with the way that the calendar has fallen, we will end school on December 22nd, which is a Friday, and then return on Monday, January 8th. So there's a full 2-week window with 3 weekends. So I know some of our kids travel to different homes over the break, and that'll help with that as well. So glad we could do that. January 15th, Martin Luther King Day, will be a no student day. It'll be a professional development day for staff. That seemed to work pretty well in doing that, so we'll continue with that. February 19th is our first snow makeup day and only snow makeup day. The committee felt like, I'll share another challenge here in a minute, but we do have the one, knock on wood, we maybe have used our 2 building this year and we haven't had to do anything different if weather cooperates. The roads.
You look at Daryl like he knows.
No, we just have a lot of early morning conversations, so we're hoping.
No pressure, Daryl, no pressure.
Spring break, March 25th through the 29th. And then this is a different one, but I marked my calendar about 5 years ago when we had a full solar eclipse. Well, it wasn't the full like we're gonna have. This is gonna be the fullest in 800 and some years. And we had a lot of issues with safety of kids not looking at the sun, transporting those kids home. It was unbelievable. So I explained that to the group. And some of them thought I was probably crazy a little on it, but we are gonna make that a no school day, at least now. If we wanna revisit it next year, we can, but April 8th, mark your calendars, it's gonna be a historic day that kids can enjoy with their parents or guardians. And they can choose to look at that through a safe device if they wish. The last school student day will be Friday, May 24th, right before Memorial Day, and then the teachers will be done on May 28th with a graduation date of June 2nd. So that's the calendar I present to you from our committee's work for approval.
All right, I'd like to seek a motion to approve the 23-24 school calendar.
I'll make that motion.
Oh, thank you, Lori. Second? Thank you, Chris. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. On to discussion items, the elementary and CMS, CHS, WCC discipline plan. Of course, our
whole thing.
whole
I can't
thing,
believe
the
we're back to this again. I feel like we just did this, but I'm just bringing these to you for discussion tonight, and I will come back next month and ask for approval, just to kind of give you some highlights of some of the changes that we have made to the books. Probably the biggest change that we've worked on this year is trying to streamline our dress code expectations from elementary to high school, having some common language for parents, making sure that we're consistent in all of our buildings. If you have multiple children in multiple buildings and they have multiple rules, it gets very confusing. So our admin team, we kind of sat down as a group and we looked at each of our expectations. Are they reasonable? Do they make sense? Are they things that we want to continue? So you'll see in the student dress code, there'll be lots of changes in that, and whether we change the language or we added some things or removed some things. You know, certain things are fads, they come and go. But usually when something goes, something comes in, so we have to kind of keep up with that. But I think that's the biggest change overall, that all of the books you will see. Also, We have always had the board policy on the non-discrimination policy that's provided by the board, but part of the recommendation from our school attorney was to add an additional paragraph that allows us as building administrators to provide consequences if that is violated. We have a lot with social media, TikTok, Snapchat, we have a lot of things that are being developed outside of our school day or not on our devices, but then are being brought back into our schools and are causing a disruption to our educational process and our day. And this allows us to have a little bit more authority over that and kind of keep that from coming into our school. And that was a suggestion made by our school attorney. So you'll see that in all of the books from elementary all the way to WCC. The last thing, CMS, they have probably the most changes, but they did a lot. Their group decided to go through and really pare it down a little bit and try to make it more intentional, more focused. So they have a lot of changes, but they're mainly just changes in language and revisions, taking out extra things so that it can be a little bit more user-friendly. One thing I do want to make the board aware of, we are having discussions about potentially changing some start and end times of our buildings. So the current times on the books are this year's start and end times, but we are working to maybe modify some of those changes. So I just want you to be aware of that. After you approve them, we may have to go back and change some start and end times for our buildings. That's something we've been working on for several years and we haven't been able to do it, but with some of the work that we've done with redistricting and things, we're looking at it again. But because these have to go, there's a time for the printer that we have to get these through. I just want you to be aware that we could be changing some of those times.
What's our objective there, Kim?
Our objective is, one, we have a very short elementary day, and we have a very long high school day. So, but we also have a very stressed and strained transportation department. Daryl does a great job, but we've got to be able to get kids there and then get those elementary buses to CMS and then get those CMS buses back to the high school. So we want to try to add some time to elementary if possible and then maybe shave some time off of we have one of the longest high school days in the state.
And shortest elementary.
And we just feel like that's kind of flip-flopped. But it has been a challenge with elementary because we have the 2 county elementary schools and then we have the city, and so that going to make some challenges with buses, but when we redistrict, we were able to reduce some routes, and so we finally think that we might be able to do it this year. I don't know, Daryl, we've been talking about it for how many years?
Long time.
And our goal would be to maybe capture 10 more minutes or so at the elementary, and then reduce the high school 10 or 15 possibly, because that's our high school gets out one of the latest that I know of. So but we don't want to start elementary too much earlier either, but we even talked about moving the start times for secondary to go first. But it's impossible with our busing because of all the shuttle routes where our kids feed into Everett and Fayette Central and then hop on other buses to bring them on in. So it proves to be a big challenge in a county-wide district. But we're hoping to be able to.
Yeah, we're hoping and it may or may not happen, but I just didn't want you to be caught off guard at that. These are the current times that we start.
Can we address anything, and my sister-in-law actually worked in a school corporation that changed the start times. It was a urban area of the middle school and the high school kids as well as the elementary school kids, and she was a middle school teacher, and they shortened their day, which was very long, and they also had them start later, and found that was very helpful because these kids don't function well you would think that they would function better early in the morning, but apparently middle school and high school people are not morning people.
Yeah.
And
they start later, that's why they're, 8.
We've taken all that into consideration, and that's why we're still at the
but
planning process.
But we don't want 5-year-olds in school at 7:30 in the morning either.
Or getting on the bus.
Well, we have ones that get get on the bus now at 6:30,
Yeah.
6:45, so that's tough.
So it's still in the works, but it's something we've been working with Daryl and trying to see if we can pull it off. May not happen this year, but we're trying.
Well, as spread out as we are,
We've been trying.
it makes it.
Or time's charming.
Just logistically, getting
It
from
is
one,
very hard.
getting from Bentonville to Connersville High School takes a while. Yeah.
Thank you, Kim, for answering my question.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay. Public comments, persons wishing to make the board aware of suggestions, ideas, or comments may address the board at this time. Comments which involve personal or students must be discussed in private. I don't think we have any. And now we will move on to superintendent discussion group reports. The only thing I'll say under that is, I think we're all aware House Bill 1134 died, or did not get called for now.
For now.
Right. I am sure ISBA and many other watchdogs are keeping an eye on what language might appear in other bills. I did want to do a shout out to our Senator Jean Lysing, who did not vote in committee. She voted against House Bill 1134 in the Senate Education Committee, and I encourage anybody who wants to. I went ahead and called and also sent an email to thank her for that vote. So I was frankly really, really pleased with that. So that's all I wanted to say. Principal director's reports.
I got this real quick update on the resource center. I don't know how many of you have been by there.
Yes.
The inside is cleaned out. It's really changed. Randy and I went Monday morning, and Scott and I went this afternoon, and it has changed dramatically. Talking to the guys tearing it down, we made a great decision, because when you're up on the roof, the walls are bowed like this. They're giving away, is what he's telling us. And there was a couple of windows that were dry rotted. He said he wasn't sure how they were staying in there. So I don't know if you went by, but we busted out windows today, and they'll start dropping the building on the 14th. We have asked them to put fence all the way around so we keep cars out. So that's just kind of where we're at on that. So you got anything you want to add to that?
I'll get there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Daryl, we got a date, we think that'll be completed or not?
They'll have it dropped in a week on the ground, and then it's just going to be cleanup. So I would say about 3 weeks from now, we should be in pretty good shape.
So it'll be done in time to seed it nicely for grass.
That's the goal.
Any other principals?
The kindergarten roundup is Saturday, April 23rd. We are going to do an in-person roundup like we used to do in years past. It'll be at Little Spartans Preschool from 9 to 3. I have quite a few community partners who will be there with tables set up to give parents information as well. So thankful for Centerstone, Purdue Extension Help, Ivy Tech Adult Ed, Library, and
Health Department.
Health Department will be there doing immunizations.
Super, thank you. Anybody else?
We're bringing it back.
Yay. All right. Director of Operations report.
A couple things. First, you have fund summary from January and for February. There's nothing really to point out there out of the ordinary. We are continue to remain in a strong financial position. You can see those, so I don't know if there's any questions on that. The other one, I'm going to go back and talk a little bit more on the Resource Center also. Yeah, Daryl and I both were amazed how much difference there was in a day. But the severity of some of the problems in the building that we talked to the guys yesterday and said, you have to go into one of these and just gut it and then basically have the four walls on the outside and you rebuild on the inside. He said, yeah, they've done it, particularly in factories. He said, could that have been done here? I was like, no. This building was in bad shape. The board made the right decision and we'll be better off there. The other thing that has amazed me, and I'm going to give Wolf Construction a pat on the back, and hopefully it's not too early. Number one, they have tried to recycle as much as they can. They pulled metal lockers out, the ductwork, copper wiring, as much as reasonably possible. I mean, they weren't going to tear down every single wall and pull out every piece. But they've done a great job there. But the thing that amazed me, this is a dirty, filthy job. I mean, when you knock all this stuff down, and if you go up by there, the cleanliness around the building is phenomenal. I'm not saying you're not going to see some loose brick or some things, and they've got it all tied off, but it has amazed me what a great job they have done of, it hasn't went out into the streets, it hasn't went out into the parking lot. They've kept it contained, and, you know, when they start tearing the building down, there's gonna be some stuff that falls and probably moves where they don't want it to for a little while, but they have just done an outstanding job so far in their timelines. I've been very, very pleased with them.
Thanks, Randy.
Can I make a comment on the building we're tearing down? Every building has a history. Not every building is historic. I've talked to many members in our community that do not see that as a historic building. Yes, it has a history, it's not historic. Thank you.
Thank you,
It was really interesting, not to make this, when Daryl and I walked around the whole building, Daryl made the comment that the homes that are on Indiana behind it, they're gonna have a view of Grand Avenue for the first time.
Yeah. That's gonna be cool with a big field,
They're
like
probably
green
gonna
space.
appreciate that.
That's very
So,
interesting.
I hadn't thought about that, but.
Yeah.
If you guys want to go down, I mean, we can take a couple people down at a time and look at it if you want to call it.
Get with Daryl. It's pretty neat to see.
Randy, I've had several people ask, you think they're probably ask for a brick. You know, they think it's, you know, they have fond memories, and they've asked us, I don't know, you work with, you know, stuff that's collapsed and you get it after dark, I guess.
No, we don't do that. I don't see why we couldn't get it out.
Is that right?
Chris, I spoke to him today about some things, because
Yes.
like when we tore some things down in the park, I had some bricks that I made stepping stones out of just in our landscaping. And he said, come get all you want. So I mean, as long as they do it the right way, I'm sure we can get
That's
it.
why, yeah.
But we talked about getting some, bringing it back and somewhere, well, he mentioned that today. Yeah, that was a good
Well, I'll
idea.
get with, yeah.
So they just need to reach out to Daryl and,
Okay.
because they're going into a landfill, they're gonna be filling in. People already, he has several locations.
I say it's actually helping around town, it's going
Yeah, it
to a
was in our
landfill
community.
here in town that the city has worked with, so.
That's great. That's good.
Wow. And did you use Daryl's machine to break the windows, or how, you know?
They took the excavator up there today and just pushed them in.
Wow.
It was pretty amazing. When Scott and I were there when they done one on the 17th Street on the south end, and it was just like, that was it.
Wow. Yep.
It's pretty amazing, you know.
For those people who wanted to try to save it, we were very concerned about the cost of getting it up to where it needed to be. Wow.
All right, Assistant Superintendent report.
I just have one thing I would like to compliment and congratulate Mr. Todd, who is now officially Dr. Todd. It's a great accomplishment. Kudos.
5 or 10 minute speech, Dr.
Would you like to defend your dissertation again?
I did that a couple Wednesdays.
You're good. You've been there, done that, huh?
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
What school name's on that?
Indiana Wesleyan University.
Okay, so you've improved a little bit.
I'll have my ring on for you.
Thanks, Kim. And Superintendent's report.
Well, she stole my thunder. I was going to congratulate our newest doctor, but again, congratulations. Want to recognize our fine arts programs at CHS. If you follow social media, you know, they're still plugging along, competing. And, you know, last week we talked about them playing at sectional, and when I heard their schedule, last week was packed for our band kids. And you see these kids earning the gold ratings and doing really well competing in the state level. So I just want to congratulate Sadie and Levi and Adam for their work with our kids. They do a really great job. Good group of kids, so congratulations. Bus inspections, Daryl, the state police come in. We've had some really outstanding bus inspections. I commend our mechanics and our department. That's a big part of getting our kids to school safely every day. And people don't always think about all the work that goes into, I mean, they'll get you if one little light is not working. And so I think we had one issue we were deemed, it was really sort of silly, but
We're at 97% right now with 36 buses. We pulled in one bus, and as we hit the downslope of the ramp, the brake hose popped. We busted the brake hose right there, we got kicked.
Oh, of course.
It would have been fixed right away, but they still have it. They have to
We had
find
to fix it
something.
5 minutes afterwards, but it's still.
Still counts, huh?
So that Greg's done a great job. He's at 97%. Our goal is to stay up there. We got about 25 more buses to go through, so.
when you see all those buses on the road, there's a lot of work and preparation that and our bus drivers taking pride in those buses, making sure they're clean and safe. So, and then also a reminder, spring break is 10 days from tomorrow. For those of you who are counting or looking forward to that, I think it'll be a good break for everyone. So I wanted to mention that. So that's it.
All righty, for the good of the cause, anybody have anything? And?
Madam President, I make a motion that we close.
And do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Motion carries, meeting adjourned.